All right. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Jim Hobbs coming at you live from Summer Duck. And to my left or right is Mr. Brian Forsythe of Kix, coming to us live from Tennessee. And we're honored to be here to give you another episode of Keto Rocks and Carnivore Country. And we look forward to getting questions from many of you who are actually watching the show and actually starting out on your keto adventure. I call it a lifestyle. People go, hey, are you still doing that diet thing? And I don't know why. No offense to anybody who's asked me that question, but, you know, it's not a diet to me. It's just a lifestyle. So, you know, It's not – a diet seems like a fad. Like it's here today. It could be changed tomorrow, but it's a lifestyle. I don't know how you think about that, Brian, but that's how I look at it.
Well, yeah, and also – well, I don't know what the true definition of diet is. I should look it up. But usually when you refer to something as a diet, it's a temporary fix for something, right. You know, to lose weight or something. And yeah, for me, this is lifetime change, you know, just being healthy.
I'm actually looking it up just to find out. And believe it or not, you cannot even find the definition of diet. When you Google it, it takes you to so many different ads. The 1-minute quiz will tell your body type and best diet. I just want to know that. All right. Webster's definition of diet: food and drink regularly provided or consumed, a diet of fruits and vegetable, a vegetarian diet. Habitual nourishment links between diet and disease. The kind of amount of food prescribed for a person or animal for a specific reason was put on a low sodium diet. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess diet refers to how you eat or what you eat. But it's been linked to all those, you know, weight loss things. So it's like, yeah, I feel the same way when people ask me, what kind of diet are you on? I'm like, well, it's carnivore diet, but I don't like to call it that. Proper human diet is cool.
I like, yeah. Dr. Berry's coined that phrase. I like it. Proper human diet. Yeah. Well, we got a question from Robin Morningstar out in California, and she writes to us and says, I have a question. Please, on this fasting and keto, what do you count? Carbs, calories? I have removed the half and half from my coffee last week. Fasting is from 4 or 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. I break the fast with meat and egg and cheese, then some nuts for snack. Tea with stevia and water. I made this week the mock potato salad with bacon, string cheeses. Today I had a handful of grapes, but that is the first grapes I have eaten in a long time. So I'll let you go. You want to go first, Brian? You want to tackle that?
Sure. Well, first of all, yeah, keto. Well, since I do the carnivore thing, I really like calories. Really don't really come into the picture in either keto or carnivore. Either does portion control. Really, yeah. For keto, you'd be counting carbs. Carnivore, I don't have to worry about it because there's hardly any carbs involved in that.
Right.
So with keto, yeah, you just want to keep your carbs low, and you have to really be aware of what you're eating, because a lot of times there's hidden, you can look at a label and it'll say a certain amount of carbs, but that's just an estimate. There's no way to know really, and you can't go by net carbs. You got to go by, full carbs all the time. Just that'll keep you better on track. But and then you mentioned grapes. We were talking about grapes.
Yeah,
grapes have been so modified, genetically modified. Now they're these big fat things that, I mean, a real grape in the wild is a lot smaller. These grapes they sell at the store now are these huge, giant. I would call them sugar bombs. That's all they are. They're high, way high in sugar. You don't want to eat those on keto because that'll mess you up.
It'll definitely throw you out of ketosis and take a while for you to get back into that. You just said something, Brian, that just triggers something. I just recently found out, I don't know if I told you this or not, but my wife actually discovered on our property, we actually have wild blueberries, and they're amazing. But it's amazing what you just said, because those blueberries are like very, very tiny compared to the blueberries you go to the store, and they're like these golf ball size. These things are very, so talking about wild blueberries compared to GMO blueberries that you buy at the store, and those blueberries you buy at the store are probably sugar bombs as well.
Yeah, well, not as bad as a grape, but yeah, actually, out of all the fruits that you're allowed to eat on keto, blueberries are probably the safest. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, those kind of things are the lowest in sugar and carbs. But still, even a blueberry, I think that's got a substantial amount of carbs. You have to, be careful of the amount. Because back when I was still doing keto, I would make like a little smoothie thing, and I would dump the blueberries in there. Like I'd use frozen blueberries to make it like a smoothie. It took a while for me to figure it all out.
Yeah, I use that once in a while. I'll do heavy cream, and I'll take the frozen. Buy frozen wild blueberries from Maine or something.
Yeah, that's what I used to do.
Yeah, and I'll dump those. They're frozen, so they're like ice cubes. So I throw them in the blender in my Vitamix, and I'll make a beautiful purple blue. What do you call those things? Not the Frosties, smoothies. And I used to enjoy that. The other thing I do from time to time is I do the Vitamix has a ice cream thing with raw cashews and salt and cocoa, and actually tastes pretty much like a chocolate mousse or chocolate ice cream. I haven't had that in a while, but for a while I went through a phase where I was eating that as a crutch at night. I think everybody's got to go through their growth spurts. I know for me, as far as counting calories, I never counted calories even under keto. I usually try to limit my treats, and I say treats, I limit, like the blueberry thing would be a treat.
Right.
I would limit the amount of consumption of that product, but I never counted my calories. I mean, if I eat as much bacon as I wanted to in the morning, and eggs till I felt really full, and then I would eat anything for a while, and then I'd eat sometime in the afternoon, evening. But with the intermittent fasting, you got thunder going on there?
No, I pushed my coffee cup and I banged into something.
So yeah, with keto, I never really counted my calories. I just never did. That's why I loved about the lifestyle, because it was, anytime I got to count calories, then I feel like I'm in a regiment that's legalistic, and now I got to follow something. If I don't follow it, I don't feel good. So for me, I didn't count the calories. I ate all the bacon and eggs as I wanted. But going to intermittent fasting, that's where I was going. But going to intermittent fasting, I bought into the whole breakfast is the most important day, because I love waking up early, and I love waking up, and the smell of bacon in the morning is just something that it's just very relaxing to me. But I broke the habit of waking up and wanting to do that. So I typically eat till they go ahead.
I was going to say, that's why I eat breakfast for dinner.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's kind of what I do. Like I just finished probably an hour ago. I had three eggs and a steak, and that's it. That's the first meal I've had since yesterday afternoon. So I won't have anything again till tomorrow afternoon, probably. So breakfast I no longer eat, and it's a little weird for me, but it's once I get into a routine and a habit, it's not that big of a deal. So, but the intermittent fasting is just fascinating to me, the number of people who are doing it and the positive results people are getting.
Oh, it's super healthy. Yeah. I mean, it only enhances your health, really. I mean, especially if you're eating healthily. Is that a word? If you're eating
it is now.
Yeah, to be doing either keto or carnivore, and then intermittent fasting on top of it it just it kicks it in overdrive, definitely, as far as the fat burning and all that. But what was the girl's name? The question? Who was?
It's Morningstar. Morningstar. She's out in California, San Diego.
I'm just curious how long she's been doing this. As far like she mentioned, half and half. You know, if she could switch if she likes cream in her coffee, she should switch to heavy cream, and because half and half's got more sugar than heavy cream, so she could still use the heavy cream, and you know, if she likes the cream in her coffee, and it would be fine. But I would personally, I stay away from the sweeteners. That's why I was wondering how long she's been doing it, and snacks. If I would like to ask her if you know, she mentioned what she starts out in the morning. It doesn't sound like
back.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it's a full meal to me. Like she's just sort of breaking her fast. But if she's not really hungry at that point, she could just extend her fast until she's hungry and then actually eat a real meal. And then that way she wouldn't have to snack on stuff in between either. Because that's another mistake.
Yeah, she had asked the question a while. She had asked the question a while ago, Brian. She had asked, and I know her. She was basically the fiance to my wife's cousin who passed on a couple years ago. I think I've mentioned him before to you. He was the drummer for Santana. So she reached out to me a couple weeks ago and said, I have a question. This is now my week 3 of the keto and fasting. I lost 5 pounds the first 2 weeks. This past week, nothing. I am fasting from 4 p.m. to 9 a.m. each day. I focus on the keto meats, heavy cream, stevia, coconut milk. You got any suggestions? Well, I responded back to her and said, lighten up on the heavy cream and make sure the coconut milk is not sweetened, because they'll hide that stuff in coconut milk.
Oh, if you buy it from the store, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when I was still drinking almond milk, I made my own just so I knew that there wasn't anything in it. Another thing you got to worry about with those milks that you buy is the carrageenan or genin or whatever that word is. That additive they do where you don't have to shake it. The
lazy human additive.
Yeah, the lazy additive that will cause inflammation, and that will stall weight loss big time. But yeah, and you got to be really careful with nuts too. Nuts are not that they're high in calories; they're just high in carbs usually.
Yeah, she sent me a thing. So she's been, I guess, consuming, and you were out in California, maybe you remember this, Califia Farms toasted coconut almond milk. And I'm looking at it. I haven't brought it up, but my guess is it's probably got some
I'm not familiar.
Ingredients in there that is causing her.
Because I had to, when I was drinking almond milk, I had to scour all the different brands. There was one brand that didn't have the carrageenan stuff in it, and you could buy it unsweetened. And all the other brands had like suspect ingredients.
So I'm looking at the ingredients for this particular product. It's got almond milk, which is made from Warren almonds. And I used to make that with my Vitamix. I used to make it. I used to do the same thing. Coconut cream, calcium carbonate, there we go. Sunflower lecithin, sea salt. So yeah, so you need to Morningstar. Don't use that product. You need to just be done.
Yeah, it shouldn't have all that. It doesn't need all that stuff. But then again, I don't know. Maybe that's a preservative or something. Or
potassium citrate, locust bean gum, gellan gum, mock fruit extract, and natural flavors. So
yeah, and there you go. That word, natural flavors, that can mean anything.
Yeah, because sugar is natural. But it says zero. It does say zero added sugar. Zero sugar added, an unbeatable flavor throughout.
But there are so many different ways you can name sugar. You can put something else in there that is sugar, and then say it doesn't have sugar.
That's true. So my guess, Morningstar, you need not to just don't use that and try to just get off the.
Use real. If you're going to use any kind of milk, just buy heavy cream. You might as well just do that.
Heavy cream, or just take your coffee black.
Yeah, that too. I mean, heavy cream will, there could be a tendency to stall stall weight loss if you overdo the heavy cream. But if you're going to use any kind of milk or cream or something, you should go for the heavy cream, because that's the healthiest, because it's got, you know, the fat content.
Yeah, there's so many lessons you'll learn by truly researching on your own and trying. Look, don't give up because you stalled. Research and find out why you stalled. So I appreciate the fact that you reached out, Robin. Morningstar, and reached out. That's awesome, and that's the beauty about the keto carnivore community, is everybody's willing to share, because look, we've all made mistakes and we've all fallen for the marketing ploys that are out there that get you in, that get you sucked into keto, to make you believe you are doing keto.
Yeah, all the keto supplements that they sell, and the ketones powders and all that junk. Those are another, like, yeah, you don't want.
I picked up one the other day. I was at the store the other day. I picked up one RX Keto, 13 grams of keto carbs. I'm like, that's not, what in the world are you talking about? And it's
just big, the big food industry jumping on the keto bandwagon, and they're just making processed keto food with the label keto, and it's not keto. No, the proper keto diet is real whole food. No, just the single ingredient kind of foods, like, nothing in a box, nothing in a bag, nothing in a canister that you mix with, powder. It's better to go natural. And that's the same thing with those. Coconut milk's okay, I guess, if it's a good brand that doesn't have all those ingredients in it, but I would stick to the real foods.
I know when we started keto years ago, I remember it was even hard to find, like, we would try to make our own. We would use like to make a pasta dish. We would use spaghetti zucchini. We noodle that out, make our pasta out of zucchini, and then just to find tomatoes in a can that did not have sugar added to it.
There's like one brand. Usually when you go to the store, there's like that whole aisle of spaghetti.
The whole aisle is tomatoes, paste, tomato cubes, what.
You can find one can that doesn't have sugar in it. And then you got to worry about it having vegetable oil in it too. A lot of them sneak out.
Back then I wasn't even worried about the vegetable oil. This is like eons ago. But I remember we finally found Wegmans had a brand that we could get, and so we'd buy a whole case of those, or a case of that tomato can, and use that for us. But it's very hard. But then, like Brian said, then when you start to do your research, you start to realize there's other stuff in there outside of sugar that's really can inflame your body, like the vegetable oils. Then it even makes it harder to find something that's just pure. So, you're better off, if you can, just eat the meat, steak, seafood, oysters, scallops, fish. Then you got chicken. One word food is probably the best way to go.
Yeah, one ingredient food. Yeah.
One ingredient food. There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
And so one ingredient. If it's got more than that, then you have to be suspect, and then you really got to sit there and really study and really find out if it really has if the other ingredient is good for you or not, and making sure they haven't hidden something in there.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Brian and I were just discussing before we started to tape tonight's episode, and you guys have brought this to our attention to want to do, but this kind of discussion and this kind of education to be shared is meant to be shared with everybody. So we're thinking about hosting a weekend, a keto summit, a Keto Rock Summit, in probably September, late August. Right now, September 25th, 26th. Is dependent upon Brian's and Kix's touring schedule, whether or not we can go ahead and lock that date in. But we'll lock it in real soon. And so this is something that you can come to we're going to share. So bring your favorite, what you like to eat, and we'll make it a really enjoyable learning experience. You'll meet new friends. You'll be able to have accountability partners. I'm sure you'll find accountability partners there that you can bounce stuff off. I know, Emily and Lisa and Laura and Linda and all those folks, and all are always communicating and supporting one another. And I just think it's a really awesome thing to do. But this would be just Brian and I. We'd have some other guest speakers to come in. And if you wanted to give some testimonies, please reach out to us. Go ahead and email us or private message us and say, hey, I'd really like to share my testimony. Because I know, we've had some really, for me, to hear some encouraging testimonies from people who have been fighting their health their entire life. And the keto, carnivore, intermittent fasting is really giving them a renewed lease on life. And I that's a great way of putting it. I think I know I started feeling better about everything and actually started questioning everything the more I went down the keto carnivore path.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning process. I'm still learning. Like every day I learn something new. I was watching a Dr. Paul Saladino thing that he posted on Instagram, and he's talking about, we know carbs are bad, it's carbs and sugar, but he's gone down this path where he's found out that vegetable oil is the worst out of anything, even worse than carbs. In fact, as long as you don't have that in your diet, you could still have a little carbs in there and do okay and not cause any problems. But the thing with the vegetable oils is what is it? Now, let's see, I forgot the word. It's like linoleic acid. I can't remember. See, I should research this before I even talk, before I open my mouth. But it's a type of acid, like amino acids. It's the omega-6 amino acids, and it's very heavy in that. And those, when you overload those in your body, it's very dangerous. And it also goes for that's why they always stress the grass-fed meats over the grain-fed, because you don't want to eat a cow that's been eating grains and soy, because then you're going to get that. That's what you're eating. Right. And I know it's hard to buy grass-fed meat sometimes because it's so expensive now. But even the worst is chicken, because it's very hard unless you buy it from a farm. The chickens, most chickens are fed corn and grain, and they're not fed their natural diet. And chickens are the worst offender for the omega-6 fatty acids. And they say if you're going to eat chicken, eat the skin, but the problem is all that ends up in the fat in the skin too. So
and that chicken industry, I won't say everybody's in the chicken industry, but they pump them full of steroids and hormones, and yeah, I know I used to get the chicken every time I go to Costco because it's so cheap, $5 chicken and the rotisserie chicken. And every time I get one, I would get sick. I'd have this sickness in my throat. I just didn't sit well. And I finally looked up the ingredients, and they're steroids, but now they've gotten away from that. So the last couple of times I've bought the chicken, it hasn't given me that reaction. My body hasn't reacted negatively to it.
But
I'm sure it's still.
I thought don't they use suspect like vegetable oils or canola oil or something?
I don't know. I don't do it if I live right next door to a Costco, I love their chicken, but I only get it once in a while now. But it's but back to watching what you eat. Farmers, they're going to use the cheapest way to get their cattle and their chickens and their livestock to get as fat and as quick as possible so they can go to the market and get paid and make money. And we're digesting that stuff. And, you know, back to what Brian was saying about, you know, this doctor saying the corn oil, you know, in the 70s, I still remember, and I was a young kid, but the 70s when they went from people using, my parents being one of them, using bacon grease to cook everything, to fry everything in, all of a sudden it became, we replaced butter with margarine and then corn oil. The corn oil, the vegetable oils, they were made to be the healthy alternative. And if you ate the stuff that you really should have been eating, you'd have been much better off. But that's also why just the heart attacks and the diabetes and all that, just all those health issues really ballooned up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I believe it all stemmed from when they switched it over to the vegetable oils.
Oh, it did. Yeah, it's a major contributor to heart disease. Definitely. Yeah, people still don't believe that.
I know.
Like when I tell them bacon grease is way more healthy than that, you know, vegetable oil will cause heart disease and bacon grease is actually healthy, they just look at me sideways like I'm insane.
Yeah, because they've been brainwashed. They have been conditioned. They've been programmed to believe that fat and bacon grease and egg yolks and all that stuff is as bad for you, which is the reason why they've made a whole industry off of the processed food and marketing to you food that they market as healthy, but it's not healthy. And I think if you watched our last episode in regards to that report that came out, which is just amazing truth to the fact that what we're sharing with you here, that bacon grease is way better, way healthier for you than margarine or your vegetable oil could ever be. Read that report, and you can go back to one of our last episode on hearing the truth about bacon and eggs, and you can go buy the report yourself. But that's a fascinating, especially if you don't believe Brian's telling you about the bacon grease, read that report, and then maybe you'll go, maybe he knows a little bit more than just playing guitar.
Yeah, well, the other thing, though, I found out through that Dr. Paul Saladino thing was pork. You don't want to overdo pork, and I didn't know that because pork leans towards that way too. But if you're eating good pork, like the pastured pork, it's not as bad. But he said still that should only be an occasional thing. It shouldn't be like a daily part of your diet,
your lifestyle.
Yeah, and I didn't, you know, I eat bacon pretty much every day. So now I'm thinking, maybe I should cut back a little bit on that, but I don't know. But I did. I stopped by and got eggs yesterday at my at that farm, and I checked the freezer, and they had another Boston pork butt in there, and this is a good farm, you know, organic, regenerative farm. So it's like the best pork you can get if you're going to get pork. So I grabbed it. I grabbed that one, and I got home and I opened my freezer and I realized, there's already one in here. I must have grabbed one last time. It's like, and then this morning I get a delivery from, what is it? It wasn't one of my regular meat places. It was from U.S. Wellness Meats, because they have a lot of good organ meat stuff. So I ordered a few things from there, and then when I opened the box, I realized I had ordered a Boston pork butt from them too. So now I got 3 of them in my freezer. That'll last.
You're lock and loaded for a while.
That'll last me till probably December by the time I get to all those.
I actually got, I think I sent you a picture. I have it in the refrigerator when my son's coming in. Well, at this point he will already be here, but him and I got to smoke I got a 10 pound, I think it's a 12-pound brisket that I got. 12-pound. I don't even know if it'll fit on my size Traeger, so I may have to use my master built and put it in there, because I don't think it's gonna. I'd have to cut it up, and I just don't want to do that. I try to avoid cutting stuff up, but when I was using that little Weber, I used to have to do that. So I love to use the Traeger, but I think I'm not going to be able to do it on it tomorrow. But I'll let you know how the results are. So I'm definitely going to. I can't mess this up. Oh, what's he going to show now?
My refrigerator's right here, so I can just grab it. Yeah, this is tomorrow's project. Prime rib roast.
Wow.
So that's going on the smoker tomorrow.
What, they give you 3 meals?
No, that'll last a while because you slice. I go back and forth about like, oh man, I should just cut that into some nice big fat thick steaks. But man, prime rib is so good when you make it like that, and then you can just slice it off. You can still sear the outside, so it's still like a steak. But there's something about it when you slice that thing open and it's just that pink inside and that crust on the outside. Oh, I love it.
So tell everybody how you cook that so they know.
Well, I'm gonna have to take a refresher course before I do it just to make sure. But I do the reverse sear on it. I slow smoke it at like 250, 225, 250. But see, and I have to until the internal temperature comes up to maybe 124, and then I pull it off and let it rest for like 30 minutes. And now that I have the Traeger, then I just crank that thing up to 500, let it get up to temperature, and then put the grate down all the way, and then I'll just throw it on there. Probably, I don't know, 5 minutes aside or until it starts looking right. But I have that probe.
The meter, you got the meter, or you use the probe. You got the meter and you use the probe from Traeger. That's part of your grill.
I have used both. Today I didn't, because I just did a steak today. I just used the meter because there's no wire to have to deal with. So as long as I got that in there, I can make sure that the internal temperature stays right. Like the steak I made today, I got it up to 121, like smoking it. I had it on super smoke. So I pulled it off, covered it in foil, and let it rest while I cranked the thing up. And I put the grate all the way down on as close to the heat as I can get it. And then I just threw the steak back on, probably 2.5, 3 minutes on each side. Well, actually the first side was 2.5. Then I flipped it. The second side was just under 2 minutes. And because I still had the thing in there, and it rose all the way up to 128. So I was like, I better pull it. So I pulled the thing off, but it was perfect on the inside. It was so tender.
Yeah,
really good steak.
I started what I started doing with my steaks is I put it on super smoke and I let it smoke for 30 minutes. I put the steaks right on the Traeger. I let it sit in there for 30 minutes. So all it's doing is getting smoke and low heat. I pull the steaks off the grill, crank it up to 450 on mine. It was to 450. And then once it gets 450, I'll bring them back on there and I do 2 minutes aside. Oh, and then I just let it rest for a few minutes, not for just for like 5 minutes.
Well,
with butter on top of it.
Oh yeah, I do that. I have that raw cream butter. That's so good. So do you monitor the internal temperature too?
I did. Well, they're supposed to be sending me, my thermometer stopped working, so they're supposed to be sending me a new thermometer replacement. I haven't received it yet, which is weird. It's been like over a week, but I do have another thermometer. I actually open it up and stick into it, and so it's at 127. I think is what it was. Whatever it was, it was 127. I just yank it, let it rest for a while, and it's just like medium rare. It's so good.
Yeah, I have now I've got the Traeger probe. I have a Weber one that I bought. It's like with the app on the phone, but that has a wire too. And then the meter, and then I also bought I can't remember the brand. It's one of those ones you just stick in to check, like right. you don't leave it in, but it's shaped like a little lollipop. Oh, stick with a round thing, and you can stick it in and see what the temperature is. Like if you're doing something like ribs or something where you don't leave the thing in there.
Well, mine's a switchblade. I mean, literally, you hit a button and it flips open, and it's got a magnet on its side. So I just always keep it on the refrigerator, or actually, I keep it right on the Traeger itself. Matter of fact, I think right now it's actually on the trigger itself. So when I'm cooking, I just hit the button. It goes. Shoo.
Oh yeah.
It can be used as a weapon because it's 6 inches. It definitely can be used as like an ice pick. So, hey, how far does your meter?
Huh?
How far does your meter read to your phone? The meter thermometer. How far away is yours? Is like the one you can go like a mile, or you got the one you got to like this works 100 feet of your kitchen?
No, well, like I can be sitting up here. This is in my kitchen, and my trigger's down out back, and it'll pick it up here. But if I walk, like say, back to my back bedroom bathroom, I'll lose the signal. But I have I left it down there. The little charging thing, it comes on a little wooden block that you stick the probe in, and it recharges it. And that little block also acts as a repeater. So you can stick that somewhere halfway in between the grill or the probe and your phone, and it'll push the signal.
Extend the signal, yeah. Extend the signal out. Well, I'm that's the next thing on my list is a meter, so I can just have it on my phone and be checking it when I'm not, sitting right there beside it or on top of it. I don't feel like I want to be able to do other things, but I also don't want to overcook, meat. It's so precious to me because it's so expensive, and if you overcook it, it's just, to me, it's not good. So
yeah, you don't want to mess it up.
No, don't want to mess it up. So not wanting to mess it up, we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up because I actually have to jump in a car and head to the airport. So we are so thankful for your questions. Please keep sending them to us. And like I said, we'll keep you up to date on where Keto Rocks Summit will be held and what dates. So if you can just keep referring back to the Facebook page, and we'll
and
make
if
an
anyone
announcement at some point.
If anyone has any suggestions about what they would like to experience at something like that,
Yeah, please.
Give us some ideas.
Absolutely. So please feel free to share. This is a community. It's just not myself or Brian. It's a community. So whatever you got to share, whatever you would like to hear, come and bring your friends, and let's make this a fun way to get healthy. So with that being said, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week. Brian, you got any parting words?
Yeah, eat meat.
Short, sweet, and to the meat. All right, you guys, have a great week. We'll see you next time.